Hey comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to do the 100th countdown. That's right, guys. Welcome to episode number 100 of the countdown. It's hard to believe I've been doing this series for 2 years now. And whether this is your first episode that you're watching or your 100th episode that you're watching, guys, I want to say a big thanks. I appreciate you guys all tuning in and taking the time to watch these countdown episodes each and every week. I have a real blast doing them. And if you have any suggestions that you would like to see improvements on this show, please leave them in the comments below, because I'm always looking to try to make things better, improve, and put that content out there for you guys. So with that being said, let's get started with this 100th episode. Now, guys, again, this is the show where I count down my least favorite comic of the week and go all the way to that top spot. And today we have 11 comics to talk about, no digital copies. I didn't get all my comics this past week because some of the books that arrived at the comic shop were damaged, so I wasn't able to get a few of them, like Darth Vader and some of the Grimm Fairy Tales books. But we do have 11 comics to talk about, so let's just jump into it. And we're going to start off with number 11. And number 11 goes to Convergence, issue number 5. Now, this necessarily wasn't a horrible book. All my books were, average or better this week. There was nothing poor. The one thing I've always said about Convergence is I think that the artwork has what's going for it. I think it's a great book to look at. There's lots of action that happens in this book. There's great visuals, great colors. When you flip through this book and you see some really death-defying moments here, and just awesome kills and very graphic. And I really love the artwork that's in here. Really good facial expressions. When it's come to this story this time around, I thought it was quite interesting. We get to find out a little bit about Telos, where he came from, and how he's related to this actual planet. And basically what happens is Brainiac brainwashed him, and he has no memory of who he was. And he was once the ruler of this particular planet. But Brainiac was the one that brainwashed him of all his powers, and Deimos is the one that wound up giving his memories back and realizing what he was with part of this world and who he was. We get to see some of the people from Skatara try to infiltrate Deimos's base, because his mission here looks like it's to take over the world. And this is the plot twist that Convergence is thrown at you. We all thought that these cities were going to do battle against each other. We're going to have all these different heroes do battle against each other. Well, now it's become Earth 2 heroes, possibly Telos, and the go against Deimos and try to stop him from taking over the actual universe. Because at the end of this issue, not only do we witness Mr. Grayson becoming the new Earth 2 Batman while wearing Telos's, silky, symbiotic type of suit, finds a batarang and sticks it on him, and he winds up saying, "I'm Batman." And we wind up seeing, I'll try to find the page, it's right there. And then you wind up seeing Deimos, who's the one that takes over the planet and communicates through all of the citizens throughout the different cities, and he says, stop all your fighting, you live as long as you pledge your life to me. And again, he's the one that's looking to take over the universe. Again, when it comes to Convergence, I was hoping things would be different here. I never expected, this to happen. I thought, again, all our universes were supposed to battle against each other, even in the main series. I thought that maybe the New 52 characters were going to be involved with this, but it looks like they're involved with the Dark Side War, so it's a separate thing that's going on over here. So, interesting things, but it totally flipped me for a loop. It's okay. I just was expecting one thing and completely got the other, and I was looking more forward to some kick-ass battling with different timelines and Earths and things like that. So wasn't expecting more Earth 2 and Deimos. So after reading this one, I gave this one a 3 out of 5. All right, next we go forward and we go on to The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 18. And this book accomplishes nothing, guys. What is this? Peter Parker's industries crumble to the ground. we have to make a decision here. This was advertised. Does Peter Parker keep Peter Parker Industries, or does he turn his back away from it forever? And that's what you get on the cover. And what happens is you find out, of course, the story continues with Ghost, and he infiltrates Peter Parker Industries, and the place comes crumbling down. And throughout the issue, you got Anna Marie Marconi, who has become just annoying to the point where she's always covering for Peter, covering his secret. You know, it's just like, it was like he was never able to cover his secret before. But ever since she came around, she's always covering for him. And it gets quite annoying throughout the actual issue. And basically, it's just this crazy fight scene with the Ghost. The whole place comes crumbling down. And by the time you wind up getting to the end of this issue, it's just the whole company against Peter Parker going, oh my God, what's going to happen? The whole place is destroyed. What are we going to do? And Peter's like, well, listen, we can get through this. We got insurance. We can, you know, keep going here. And people are like, no, we can't trust you. Or Sanjana's like, I can't trust you. You were keeping things from me. And Peter's like, well, you were keeping things from me. And nothing was resolved in this. And what happens is it leaves this issue in a complete, the series in a complete limbo, and you don't know what's going on here. The story might as well just continue here because it has Peter going on to May and J. Jonah Sr.'s house, and you wind up seeing that the whole place has been robbed, and May and Sr. have been taken away by Felicia. Now Felicia doesn't only take her stuff back, but she takes May and J. Jonah and winds up sitting there and goes, oh, well, I'm going to burn them alive. Like, seriously? I mean, Peter went to Felicia and sat there and said, I was not the same person. I was Superior Spider-Man. Octavius did this. And she wanted nothing to do with it. And for her to be this way, I don't agree with it. I'm for change, but I guess for this change, I just don't like it because I feel that it's unrealistic. It's like she had an epiphany or something when Superior punched her and said, you know what? I'm not taking shit from anybody. I'm going to be this hard ass now. And that's what happens at the end of this issue. And for her to kill or try to kill, that's extreme for her. I mean, that's really extreme. And I just don't agree with that. You know, it's just really frustrating on my part when it comes to her. And when it comes to Dan Slott, again, I feel when Secret Wars is over and we need another Spider-Man title to come back again, whatever that is, I think it's time for a new writer. I think when he's come to his events, I think he's done a pretty decent job. Being original was Superior, but when it comes to just writing the Amazing Spider-Man title, I don't think he knows what to do with it. I really don't. And that's when I like these issues the least. It's when they're supposed to be the fun stories, the good filler stories, you know, and entertaining, and they're just not. They're not at all. And I feel like he feels like he has to do something big, monumental, and just crowd it with all kinds of stuff to make it good. And here it's just not. So for me, you know, I mean, it's okay, but it wasn't the best issue I read, and I'm giving it a 3.25. That's kind of being generous. It's almost on the 3 mark. So that was number 10. So now we move on. Go on to number 9, and number 9 goes to a nice little story, and that is Convergence Superman, issue number 2. This is the story of how Clark and Lois have a baby. If you're looking for this crazy-ass battle royale between Flashpoint Superman and Superman, you're not really going to get that here because that's all washed away as soon as Lois finds out that, as soon as Clark finds out that Lois is having a baby. We wind up seeing that Thomas Wayne is here, and Skinny Superman from Flashpoint kidnaps Lois and brings her to the actual Batcave because he knows she will be safe when she goes into labor because he adores her, he's infatuated with her, and he wants to see her safe because she was the only one that cared about him back in the day when he was absolutely nothing. Cool battle scenes that happened here. There was nice artwork. It was nice seeing this classic style of Superman back again. Again, this really cool artwork in here, and I love seeing this page right here when it comes to a full body page of Superman. First, there's this one, and then there's this one here too, which I think is worth seeing if I can flip and get to it. But now I can't hear. Here, this page right here. This is a great page. I really enjoyed looking at this page here. But after some in-depth conversation with Thomas Wayne about him helping Superman deliver Lois's baby, Thomas kind of denies it. He hasn't been a real doctor since Bruce has died, and we wind up seeing that Lois is in labor for a very long time here, and they wind up delivering a happy baby boy. And that was the end. It was just this perfect ending to this perfect little story. So if you're looking for some crazy ass battle in here, you're not going to get it. It was a good ending to a fun story. It's that perfect ending story. Almost the way like Injustice ended, except with their child being a female and growing up and taking on the realm of Superman. So I gave that one a 3.25 out of 5 as well. So now we're going to go on to number 8. Number 8 goes to the old Savage Dragon, issue 203. There's been crazy stuff going on in Savage Dragon, a lot. And Eric Larson has been throwing in all this kinds of sexual stuff that's going on. You have Malcolm Dragon, who took over the original Savage Dragon. He's been, living on his own, having his own apartment. He's been dating girls. He's been having threesomes, including his stepsister, his ex-girlfriend, and his current girlfriend. And there's been talks of, all kinds of stuff going on in here. So it's really crazy. But mainly what this issue is about, it's about Dart trying to really eliminate Malcolm Dragon from the picture here. And we wind up finding out that she's got this power sword. She has this other power that can change her blood, make her into this creature that's called Mako, that could turn her into like this shark creature. Weird stuff if you're not following Savage Dragon. You got these two guys. One's called Wildcat, which is this guy. This dude's called the Kid Avenger. And they feel that this version of this is an imposter of a Savage Dragon, not knowing that it's his son that took over the helm. And so they go out and they try to stop him, and try to recreate like a name for themselves, Once again, there's more sexual stuff that goes on within this particular issue. Tierra, the ex-girlfriend, has been trying to get in contact with Malcolm Dragon, but the girlfriend wants nothing to do with her. And then we wind up seeing this guy, Kid Avenger, and this Wildcat guy go after Malcolm Dragon and trying to stop him. And then they think he's the imposter, like I said. But then Dart comes into the picture, and I feel that Dart is the superhero trying to save the day. So they wind up getting everything confused. They wind up tackling Malcolm Dragon. He winds up getting his freaking whole goddamn leg sliced off. She winds up getting beat up pretty bad in here. And so there's this big battle royale. Not really in-depth story here, but the only thing that you get at the end of this is you find out that Tierra winds up coming to the hospital to visit Malcolm Dragon. And with all of Malcolm Dragon's sex orgy parties, we wind up finding out that his ex-girlfriend is pregnant. His whole life just got blown up. Pays to wear a condom, Mr. Savage Dragon. Pays to wear a condom. And that's what happens here. So this was okay issue. It was better than some of the previous ones. And I gotta give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. There's always some crazy stuff going on in Savage Dragon. I have read every single issue of this. I've been collecting it since I've been a kid, and I just can't let it go. Alright, so moving forward now, we go on to number 7. And number 7 goes to Ant-Man, issue number 5. In this issue, we wind up seeing, I guess, the resurrection of Darren Cross. And the reason why Darren Cross lives, and he's the reason why Scott Lang became Ant-Man in the first place, but the reason why he lives is because Cassie Lang, they had to do a heart transplant to this Darren Cross guy, and Cassie's heart has Hank Pym particles in it, so it can withstand his gargantuan size and keep him alive. Meanwhile, this doctor is trying to keep Cassie alive because they had another donated heart to keep her alive. But Hank Pym just goes to battle with this guy. And throughout the entire issue, this was pretty much it. We get to see the son happy that his father's back alive, but it seems like his father doesn't really give a shit. And then throughout this entire issue, you see this battle between these two characters. My only problem with this issue was I don't know Darren Cross that well. There was no real attachment for it. So this battle didn't feel meaningful at all when these two fought. So when one one won and one lost. I was like, oh, okay. It just seemed dragged out. Now, if it was a character that I knew better, I think this issue would have gotten a higher grade for me because I would have known the character. But they just threw you into this miscellaneous battle. What I got a kick out of it was the secondary rape heroes, Machine Smith and Grizzly. They're here helping Scott, and they're trying to, they're like, well, I don't think he needs us anymore, so they just kind of leave, And they just got to, there is some real humorous parts in this book, which was really well done. But then what got me at the end, what made it higher in some other aspects, were the emotional beats when it came to Scott on how he deals with his father, Scott, how he deals with his daughter, and how he handles the situation about keeping his daughter alive, and how anytime he's around, his daughter is in jeopardy. And after getting a actual offer for Scott to be around his daughter some more, it looks like by the time we get to the end of this issue, it looks like he's going to skip out town on his daughter because he feels he's a liability to her. So you got to feel for that. So I like this issue for what it presented here. And again, the only thing that dragged it down for me was the actual fight scene. I could deal without that, which made this book really well done. And I think the job that Nick Spencer has done with this is just the story that's been told between the daughter and father story there. So after reading this one, I gave this one a 3.75 out of 5. All right, next we go on. We go on to, I think, which is number 6. Yep, number 6. And number 6 goes to the final issue of the Hulk. Yeah, I love this run. Jerry Duggan has done a great job with it overall. Guys, check it out in trade if you haven't read it. This just deals with the conclusion of Doc Green not changing back to really Bruce Banner or to the Hulk that he was, but really just going out to Jen Walters. And look at that Mark Bagley artwork. I think it's just so well done. And the colors have been so solid. Love the facial expressions here. This has just been an epic book, and I just love the story that it presented here. But Doc really lays it all on the line to Jen, and he just sits there and he says, I had this extremis, I had this smart brain, I created this AI, now this AI is taken over, and slowly but surely, eventually I'm going to be the dumb Hulk that I used to be. And he's like, for the first time ever, I felt that I was free. He felt that he was actually in peace with himself, and he gets really emotional here. And by the time we wind up getting to the end of this issue, he winds up displaying that he can't take any more extremists because it's going to drive him mad, and this is what he sees in his future if he continues on the path that he was going. He's going to see ultimate death and destruction here. And so by the time we get to the end of this issue, we wind up seeing that Doc Green and Bruce Banner have come to work together, and they're trying to stop that AI Banner that's going to basically try to take over the world. And then also at the end, you wind up seeing Betty Ross as herself, not Red She-Hulk anymore, still wearing that jacket. And they share a nice little intimate moment here between just Bruce and Betty, and it was just a nice moment between the two. So I really liked the issue. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was a little slow, but at the same time, it's a good conclusion to an otherwise action-packed volume of Hulk, because there has been lots of action in here. So again, guys, check this one out. This has been a great event. Not a great event, but great story art. Get this one in trade. 4 out of 5 from me. All right, so moving forward now, we go on to number 5. And number 5 was a little surprising for me, but this one finally cracked that top 5, and this was Spider-Gwen issue number 4. Not a lot of action happened in this book. This book has been really teetering for me if I should continue to read it or not. This issue made me complete the first story arc and said, okay, let me try the next story arc and see what happens. Because in this issue, we wind up finding out that, okay, the book starts off kind of lame, where Gwen stops these paint people, these graffiti people. And I was just like, oh, yippee-doo, who cares about that? I was like disinterested in that. But then we find out in this issue that Gwen winds up going to May's house. And we wind up getting the story here. You know, Ben is alive here, and May is going on in this book too, and we get to see the story of how Peter was not well, and Aunt May went into this whole description of Peter and how he loved the Spider-Woman and how they took these clippings on, and it was a really cool moment that these two shared with each other, which you could really enjoy throughout the issue. And Aunt May put the blame on Spider-Woman on why Peter is dead. And as time went on, May really studied Spider-Woman by collecting all these news articles and said that she was out there for a greater purpose. And so she kind of owes Spider-Woman that apology. And it was just a kind of a touching issue there. And then it goes back to Gwen being part of the Mary Janes again, which, again, I don't really care about either. But we're going to see how this all plays into the book as well. Again, this series is not my favorite Spider-Woman or Girl series, but this one, I liked it because it went deep into May and Gwen and Peter and how and why he kind of committed his suicide. So I really like this. So this one got a 4.25 out of 5 for me. All right, so going forward, we move on to number 4. Number 4 was the all-new Captain America special. That's right. The only downfall about this book really was the price point. Maybe artwork was a little bit off for me in this, and it's been throughout the series. But what surprised me about this book is the continuous humor that Spider-Man has to offer, and the interactions that he has with the other characters, whether it's been Medusa, the Inhuman Kids, Sam Wilson in this book. It's just so funny. You know, Sam Wilson rescues Spider-Man in the issue, and he makes, you know, comical remarks sitting there going, dude, can I throw the shield? And Sam's like, no. And he's like, well, Captain America let me throw the shield. He's like, no, he didn't. He's like, yeah, he did. And it's just funny moments in here that really make this series really good. And then we get the conclusion of this Red Raven fellow, who was one of the Golden Age superheroes that teamed up with the original Captain America, Namor, the original Human Torch. And that really what this issue did was it really put a realization saying, you know what, we are all the same people. Even though Medusa kind of messed up and changed all his people, they're all Inhumans, they're all one. And Medusa makes it a thing saying that they can work together and solve this issue. And that's really what happens at the end of this book and throughout this last chapter of this issue. And again, I just love just Spider-Man just being his humorous self in here and interacting with the separate characters and really sending a message to them and being positive, even though he was being a real smartass through this entire, you know, 3-issue special. So I enjoyed this, and again, it surprised me more than anything. I didn't think it was going to be that good. So again, after reading this one, I'm going to give this one a 4.25 out of 5. I think that's what I'm going to give this one, yeah. All right, so we're reaching to that point where we get to the top 3. Top 3. Number 3. And number 3 goes to, and I don't know if any of you guys read this, but this is Armor Wars, a half issue. That's right, the first, I guess, Secret Wars spin-off book. This was the Toys R Us exclusive that you could get at Toys R Us. You did not have to spend $25 of Marvel purchases to get this book. You could just go to Toys R Us and buy this for free. Or buy this for free. That doesn't make no freaking sense. Buy this for $4.99. $4.99. Pricey? Yes. It's probably half the size of a regular issue. However, the story here was very interesting, and they weren't short on dialogue. There was lots of dialogue telling you what this story was about, where the setting takes place, and I got to give my hats off to James Robinson here for fitting in this kind of girthy story within such a small issue. But it got the job done here. And Mark Bagley does the artwork through here. So this was a nice, well-drawn artwork. You know, you get to see some great pictures here with Iron Man. And basically what happens is And when I get to battle maps and individual issues, this takes on Technopolis, I think it was called, and that is like number 5 on the battle map. Yeah, Technopolis. And we find out that James Rhodes is the Thor of this particular world. And what's going on is everyone is in armor because there's been this virus or something has gone wrong where it's made all people immobile, and in order for people to survive, they all have to be in some kind of armor, whether you're a good guy, bad guy, whatever's going on. Stark seems to be the good guy, and his brother Arno seems to be the bad guy, and he's working with the Kingpin. And the Kingpin's got armor. We get to see that big dude in armor. And then what happens is Spider-Man is investigating what's going on within the city as well. He thinks he's figured out what the problem is within the city. Now, this is not the Peter Parker Spider-Man that we know. The Spider-Man that's in this particular issue, his name is called Peter Ulrich. So very interesting. He's got a different girlfriend. However, he is a photographer, and he still has some funny humor in here. So there was a lot of spins and twists for what we all know, regardless of when it comes to Iron Man and James Rhodes and, you know, and Spider-Man himself. But this issue delivered for me, and I was very surprised at this. This, for me, was worth the $5, and it gave me optimism going into Secret Wars, whether, you know, it's only this series at least it gets me interested going into issue number 1 for Armor Wars. So after reading this one, I gave this one probably like, it's a 4 and a quarter stars. So it's really around that same lines. Really, it's the price that draws it down a little bit, and the length of the issue is really small. But nevertheless, it was a good read. All right, next, we're going to go on to our top 2 now. And the number 2 book is Star Wars Canon, The Last Padawan. This book is awesome. I think Greg Weisman's doing a phenomenal job here. I think one of the best things that has this book going with a great story is the artwork. The artwork is so nice in this book, and the colors are just wonderfully done. And I just love facial expressions that are going through this book. Whenever you have action scenes, the clone troopers look really nice, and I'm trying to think of what else. And then these Jedi battles look really well done. So throughout this entire book, you're just like, man, this is great. You're just really flipping through it. Even this whatever this guy was, I forgot his name. He kind of takes in the young Canon there, and kind of takes him undercover. But he looks great too. So what happens in this issue is we wind up seeing the great order that happens in here, the Execute Order 66, and we get to witness the extinction of the Jedi, and we wind up seeing that his master winds up sacrifices herself, so Canon can wind up escaping and taking off. And so what happens is he winds up going to some, you know, Outer Rim world or city or whatever it was, and he goes into hiding, and he's forced to live on by himself. He's like eats rats and goes through garbage, and then this guy kind of winds up taking him in for a little bit, gives him a shower, gives him some food, gives him some sleep, but he's always very paranoid that the Imperials are going to wind up coming after him. So what happens then is when we get the clone troopers going to escape to actually check his ship out, and he gets a distress call, we find saying the young Canon winds up taking the ship and takes off and heads back to Coruscant. And as he's getting back to Coruscant, we wind up seeing the hologram wind up appearing, and Obi-Wan saying, "Don't go back to Coruscant." And then his ship winds up getting surrounded at the end. And you're just like, oh, damn, that sucks. So I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting stuff. You know, they're doing a really good job. I think Weisman's doing a good job at letting you, you know, dive deep into this character and where he came from. And so when you get interested in him, you're going to want to read more or watch more when it comes to Star Wars Rebels on TV. And that's going to, you know, cross bridges between kind of the classic universe and that universe, because you're going to get Darth Vader in there now soon too. So this is a really good book. I'm giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Can't wait to see where it goes from here. Sad thing is this series is only a limited series, but great writing here, great art. Next, last but not least, and this gets 4 3/4 stars out of 5 stars, my #1 book, and maybe some of you guys will disagree with me all day with this, but personally, I'm on board with Secret Wars, and it is Secret Wars issue #1. I really enjoy this series for what it is. This first issue really led into everything that's been going on. If you haven't read Avengers, or New Avengers, yes, you're going to kind of be lost of how it led up to this point, but as a new reader, if you're just jumping on now, all you need to know, the new universe, the Marvel Universe and the Ultimate Universe are on the verge of colliding. And you have the Ultimate Universe trying to survive, and you have the Marvel Universe is trying to survive. And whoever survives, well, we'll see what happens. But throughout this issue, and there's a lot crammed in here. Don't get me wrong. This is why it's not a perfect grade. There's a lot of scientific shit. There's a lot that Hickman crammed in here where you have to maybe go back and read quite a few times. But I think that it really got my interest. And again, it's all led up into this point, into this final incursion. And this is what happens. And then really what's going to happen is Secret Wars kicks off in issue #2. Because you get to see, again, Ultimate Universe doing battle against Marvel Universe. They're trying to survive. You get to see our Marvel heroes, this universe, trying to gather up people to create or recreate the human race to keep things forward, while you have the actual Ultimate Universe trying to destroy the current Marvel Universe and trying to keep their city alive, and it's just insane. Some of the artwork wasn't always that consistent, but the overall artwork when it comes to like the galaxy and things exploding and cityscapes were pretty awesome. You see Scott, he's got like the Phoenix egg, so he gets like the Phoenix Force again. I don't know how that happened. But by the time you wind up getting to the end of this issue, you wind up seeing mass casualties that happen between the battle between these two. Whether it was Rocket Raccoon dying, you get to see, I think it was Black Widow who dies in this issue. Her ship gets blown up trying to rescue people. And then when it all comes down to it, we get this life raft, or I think that's what they called it. It was coming out of the Baxter building, and they were escaping. And they only had so many people left. And so they had to get between the two planets in order for this life pod to survive. And as they were doing it, some of the electromagnetic shocks got through the hull of the ship, and it wound up separating the ship. Sue Storm tries to keep everything in together, and Mr. Fantastic, sporting the new beard look, which is pretty badass, he winds up trying to reach for her. But just as he reaches for her, we find out that her shields could not hold up anymore, and she dies. So now you kind of understand why the Fantastic Four end was just like this happy ending, because it's such a tragic ending for him here. And then just right before, after they could not rescue her, you get to see the incursions that actually begin to happen, and boom, the whole Marvel universe, between the two universes, they make that collision. And you wind up kind of seeing Doctor Doom's faceplate there, because in the beginning of the issue he was talking about God, and you get to see the end of what is the Marvel Universe and the Ultimate Universe, 2000 to 2015 and 1961 to 2015. And then it just says next, where you have that life pod on some miscellaneous rock, which is, I'm assuming, which is behind me now, which is the new Marvel Universe as of right now, called Battleworld. So I thought this issue was action-packed. It finally led into that moment that we all been waiting for, and it accomplished that here. And I think now we're going to go into Secret Wars #2 and seeing what the real plot line is, and then you're going to get all these side stories that have to do with Battleworld. I think it's interesting because you know, when you tie in all these different worlds together, or all these different continents or countries or whatever you want to call them, and it just adds kind of like this different dynamic. It kind of connects you. It's trying to connect you with this new universe. You know, instead of us going Earth 616 and Ultimate Universe and all this other stuff, now you get to know these universes by this. And it may take us time to know them. I don't know if they're going to stick, but I find it fun. It's different. It gives the creators a chance to, you know, write something different instead of the same old stuff. This is something that we really haven't seen Marvel do. They've changed things here and there the past couple years, but we never seen a real kind of reboot. You know, and we've seen the volumes changed also. But again, this is something completely different. So before we knock it, let's give it a try. Let's see how it goes. And because it might be something fun and something great. And that's what you have to look at with comics these days. It's got to be, got to look at positives. You know, yes, they are pricey, but if you really enjoy the hobby, I think no matter what, you're going to keep reading. And we'll see where this all goes. And regardless of the fact, guys, I'm going to be here and on Comic Frontline reviewing these Secret Wars books. So if you guys are interested and you don't have the money to spend on them, just watch my reviews and I'll be here to do it for you. So guys, there is the 100th countdown. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Guys, as always, thank you for watching. Tell me your least favorite comic book of the week. Tell me your favorite comic book of the week, and then all that other stuff in between. And I appreciate all the comics and the time that you spend watching. And fans, until that next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.